Hey everyone, I'm back again, and today I have a message for you guys which has been driven by the most powerful lesson I've ever learned in my life. And basically, I've been diving really deep, probably for the past 7 years, I've been diving pretty deep. But this particular message that I want to deliver for you guys today is ultimately the thing that I just keep coming back to. And I can't shed the fact that it's actually this that sets me free or entraps me when I get it or I don't get it. And that's why I really want to dive into this topic with you guys today. For some of you, it might be a bit of a reminder. It might not be, if you've been listening to a lot of my messages, the theme is very connected to what I'm going to be sharing with you guys today. But we always need this reminder and just to wake us up, because our human nature makes us play a victim in life. It makes us get trapped in trying to prove ourselves, and it makes us get trapped in judgment of others and not realizing that the judgments that we place on others are ultimately the judgments that we have within that we haven't resolved. So we keep ourselves stuck. And so I want to go straight to the heart of it and deliver a message with you guys and co-create this space as usual with you on what I believe to be foundational in terms of the key to unlocking us from our own entrapment and ultimately getting to a place of freedom and fulfillment. So I would love for you guys, as usual, to play along at home. Let me know where in the world you're tuning in from, and I'd love to hear your perspective, your experience, any questions or comments that you have. Drop them in the chat, and I will definitely be getting in there and replying to you guys and connecting with you guys as soon as I've delivered this kind of message for you guys. So that's what I want to do. So let's talk about responsibility. And the reason why I want to talk about this, this is not a sexy topic, right? Most people don't want to go there. As soon as you mention the R word, they're out, they're checked out, right? And so I want to do this in a way that obviously I'm going to talk about my experience with this in the hope that it resonates with you guys. But basically, I spent the majority of my life handballing the responsibility of my success, my fulfillment, everything meaningful and good in my life to any outside sources who were in reach, right? Whoever I could handball it over to. And so basically, today's message is the answer to every problem I've ever had in my life. And I hope that me sharing this with you guys, you can resonate with this. And maybe you're in a challenge right now that you just you're stuck, the world is in a crazy zone right now. There's a lot of challenges and problems coming our way. And I'm hoping that this message hits you where it counts and helps set you free in whatever you're dealing with right now. We've always got challenges. We're always in a transition of some sort. So let this message hit you and resonate with you. But basically, it's all about the fact that taking 100% responsibility for your own life is the key to unlocking every problem that comes your way. And if I reflect back throughout my entire existence so far on the planet, I can look back at every personal challenge I've had. I can look at every, challenge I've had in my business or where I'm going career-wise. I can look at every challenge I've ever had in intimate relationship. I can look at every challenge I've ever had in family relationships, in friendships, and every challenge I've ever had financially, any challenge I've ever had with having a lack of connection with something bigger than just myself. All of it, every single one of these challenges, any challenge I've had with my health, definitely. And what it comes down to is what we're talking about today, which is not taking responsibility for your own life, for your own success, for your own fulfillment, for your own results that you're generating. And instead, what we do, if we're not taking responsibility, what are we doing? We're playing the victim. Right? And the victim is by no means the creator of their own life. It's the opposite, right? The victim says, it's all your fault. I'm experiencing the things that I am experiencing. It's all your fault I am the way that I am. It's all your fault that I am not as happy as I could be. It's all your fault that I'm, not living the life that I want to live, right? And we've all been there. But, you guys who are on a journey like this, you're at a point where you want to take complete ownership over your life. And not because you think you're not getting caught in the trap of thinking the burden of that. You're actually knowing that all the freedom and fulfillment that you desire to create in your life lays in the other side of you unlocking the door with your own responsibility for your own results. Now, this has been something that I'm continuously growing in. The moment I stepped into, personal development, and the moment I stepped out off the path that wasn't right for me, those were all some of the first moments that I was really actually consciously taking responsibility for my own life and my own fulfillment. And what happens is, you kind of either go to take responsibility and it's so that you can have freedom within and fulfillment within, or you handball the responsibility because you're overly concerned about what other people might think, how they might feel, and you take all this responsibility in your external world for those people. But simultaneously, you're not taking any responsibility for yourself. And you might get trapped in the loop that I did for many years unconsciously, which was ultimately that I believed that if I took, responsibility for how other people felt, around me, then I'd never have to worry about, how it is that I actually feel in my own life. I thought that I could possibly escape all liability for the burden of my own success and fulfillment if I was managing the emotional states of all of those people around me, or managing their perceptions of me. If I could be good in their eyes, then basically I wouldn't have to worry about what's going on for me, because I could just manage and become that kind of chameleon for everybody in my external world, so that I could have reflected back from them, I'm okay, I'm doing well, I'm successful, I'm, this or that. But at the end of the day, what that did instead was create a hell of a lot of internal conflict and a very inauthentic existence. And I wasn't consciously aware of that stuff as well at all. Like I said, the first time I really stepped into any real significant level of responsibility for my own life was entering a stage of personal development, like being introduced to that whole world and realizing, oh my gosh, like there is this whole other realm that allows me to look within and decipher for myself what it is that I want and what it is that I don't want. And in fact, nobody outside of me really has the answers that only I can find from within, so nobody, no matter how well-intentioned they are, no matter how much they want you to be happy, they don't have the answers for you as an individual to create the freedom and fulfillment in your life that you can only create for yourself. And the only way to do that is to realize that and decide to take 100% responsibility, because all else is a fallacy. All else is just, shape-shifting through life so that you can chase something that you're never actually going to get until you stop, you slow down, you look in the mirror and you go, you know what? It's all on me, right? Like it's all on me. Every single result that I'm experiencing, that I'm creating in my life is because of me. It's not because of anybody else. You've attracted the partner that you have. You've attracted the circumstances that you have. You've attracted, all the different people in your life that challenge you. And the reason is because of the way that you're showing up and you're being. The moment you start to actually take responsibility for your own life is the moment that you step into a leadership position in your own life. And I was just flicking through Instagram earlier, and I think it was Lisa Bilyeu. I saw an awesome quote from her, and it was pretty much along the lines of, you are the CEO of your own life, right? And that means that the firing, the hiring, and the promoting is all up to you, right? Like if you're the CEO of your own life, if you're the leader of your own life, you better act accordingly, right? Instead of, a CEO is not going to handball all responsibility to everybody else and do nothing, right? And expect to have success and fulfillment in their lives. They have to step forth and they have to take full responsibility for everything going on. When there's a problem, no matter where it comes from in their life, no matter who it's connected to in their life, it's their problem to solve, right? They're the ones finding the solution. And the moment you take responsibility for everything in your life is the moment that you have actual certainty, which most people are trying to chase certainty by handballing that responsibility. The fallacy is that they're never going to get it until they take responsibility, because that's the only true certainty they're ever going to be able to create in their lives. So, I hope that this message resonates with you guys, because it's kind of been sparked. It's not a new message, as you guys know from me, but I realized something. Like just yesterday, I had a call with somebody who is going to interview me, and I'm going to interview them on the Limitless Potential podcast for you guys as well. And we're kind of diving in, just sharing a bit of our stories and so forth. And then I found like the angle that we're going to go in a way. I was like, oh, what is it about that? Like there was something about this angle that this person wanted to take that made me feel like I'd be being a bit of a victim, right? Like, and I was like, I don't know. I just kind of like something was like, oh, I'm not sure about that, right? And basically, like it was just, we haven't really dove in deep, so we'll see what happens. It's happening on Monday morning Aussie time, Sunday evening for you guys in the States. But basically, talking about, if you are too frightened to go against your parents, sort of thing, and choose a life for your own self. And you could look at life that way, right? Like imagine I looked at my life and I thought, I'm so angry at my parents and my family because, like they drilled it into me that I couldn't be accepted for who I am and I had to be this particular way. Nobody ever said that to me. Nobody ever told me that. Everything that I've ever done in my life has been me perceiving maybe what other people might want and acting accordingly because of this one thing that creates every problem in my own life, and maybe for you too, which is not taking responsibility for my own life, my own fulfillment, my own success, right? And so that's kind of what triggered this a bit for me, because I'm like, I know we're going to go deep and it's all about healing hurt and pain and traumatic experiences from your past and so forth. But that piece that just didn't sit well for me was this still playing the victim card. Like I refuse to play the victim in my life. I refuse to, because I think that's what keeps us stuck. I get and I understand that there is a therapeutic approach that needs to happen. And, some of us have had very traumatic experiences where we were victimized and we didn't have another choice, right? We were quite young or whatever the circumstances. But at the end of the day, if you want to be the kind of adult in this world who actually generates the freedom, the fulfillment, the success, the love, the joy, the happiness, the full spectrum of emotion as a human being, the full potential that you have access to actually actualizing in your life, then this is the number one thing you have to do. You have to stop playing the victim and you have to become the creator of your own life. And the only way you do that is by taking 100%, not 99%, 100% responsibility for how you've shown up in your life and what you've done. Because anything less than that 100% is you kind of just saying, I'm going to give my power away and I'm going to be out of control in my own life. I'm going to continue down the path where the external world must decide for me for it to be okay, or I need permission in order to move in a positive direction, right? So I just wanted to share that with you guys because, that's just what's going on for me in my life. And just kind of made me look from a different angle, and yeah, just inspired me to retouch on this particular topic for you guys. So, and as you guys know, if you've been following these messages, about a week or two ago now, I think it was, I actually got to a whole new level of gratitude for my parents, right? And I could see so clearly that everything that they've done, you know, was coming from their own set of values that was absolutely so supportive. Like, I wouldn't be the human being that I am today. I wouldn't have, you know, that foundation built for me to be able to tap into what I'm most inspired by in this life. You know, and it was really came about because I dove a hell of a lot deeper into Maslow's hierarchy of needs, because I was giving a presentation in which I felt that could be foundational to the topic that we were talking about. And so as I did that, I could see this whole new level of appreciation for my family and for my parents, and wanting nothing ever to change from what it's been. And I've only really been able to do that because I don't have a victim mindset about it. You know, I accept responsibility, and I look at every choice and decision I made. Nobody had a gun to my head doing it. I had to go on the journey that I had to go on in order to learn the lessons that I most needed to learn so that I could create my own life, right? And I've chosen to do that. And it's not an easy path. Right? It's not, but you know, it's in the long term, it's the only path for me, right? Because I know what it is to not live your own authentic existence. I know that path. And I also can learn from people who've come before me and go, I don't want to repeat what they've already shown me to be not a fulfilling pathway, right? I want to be authentic. I want to live and create my own life. And so a lot of people look at that as the hard path, but in actual fact, in the long run, it's always the easiest path. The hardest path is, you know, taking a stance to try and maintain harmony in your external world while simultaneously having internal conflict and chaos for the rest of your life. I'd much rather, you know, have those fires in my external world, those chaotic experiences or those conflicts, and have inner peace and total congruence with what matters to me and the direction of my life. And if you've had those sort of experiences to compare and contrast, you'd be on the same page as me for sure, right? So anyway, let's dive in. I want to check in with you guys. So drop me a comment. Let me know where in the world you're tuning in from. Have you got any questions or comments or words of wisdom to share in our conversation today? Can't wait to check in and see who's been able to join me. But I've got Judy in the house, and Bill, hello to you. And Jerry's back. Hi, Vanessa. Thanks for your live. Thanks for being here. I so appreciate you guys who show up each and every day. I really, from my heart, so appreciative. It makes me so excited to see you guys come back and back again, because it means that you're showing me that there's some sort of value in these messages, which is the whole purpose for me doing these. So you guys are so appreciated. And Mark's here as well, and Victoria and Emil, a lot of learnings from you. I'm grateful to hear that. Hope they've been powerful for you. And Jerry, exactly, the mirror effect is what we see is the true picture. Yeah. So yeah, totally. You know, like, you know, when we take responsibility, that is like holding the mirror up. You know, there's that famous quote, which I'm going to totally butcher right now, but it's, you know, instead of holding up the microscope to other people, right? And just getting caught up in our judgments of, oh, they should have done this, or they made me the way that I am, or whatever. Instead of the microscope, actually pick up the mirror and look at yourself instead. That's exactly a great metaphor for today's topic. Appreciate it, Jerry. And Laura's here as well. And Bill, so happy I have myself to take control of my own life. Boom. Exactly. That's where freedom is. But, you know, we get so caught up in thinking, oh, if I can just manage how everybody else perceives me in my external world, then maybe I'm going to be okay. Right? If they can be happy with me, if they can see me as successful, then I'm okay, right? But we all know who've walked down that path that is a very lonely, disconnected path, no matter how many people applaud you, right? Because it's not authentic, it's not congruent. So I'm so happy that you do have yourself to take control of your own life too, Bill. I love it. And AJ's here, and Brian. Your accent is so endearing. I'm glad to hear that it's not annoying. I'm always happy to catch your live feed. Thank you. Thank you so much, Brian. I'm grateful that you are here, and I'm grateful that you are finding value in these messages as well. Thanks so much for letting me know. And Bill, sometimes being a victim is the lack of gratitude. Boom. Totally. Because what does a victim do? Focuses on everything that they can't control and everything that's wrong. What does a creator do? Focuses on what they can control and everything they've got to be grateful for. Absolutely. Spot on, Bill. I love that. I love what you just brought to the conversation. And Elps, I'm loving that this is 100% right for you. And Elps, you don't know how strong you are until it's the only way to survive. Oh, absolutely. You know, you guys know my story, and you know that when I decided to quit law and, you know, get off that path, at that point, I'd had a pretty cushy life, right? Pretty cushy existence. And because of that decision that I made, for the first time in my life, I really had to fend for myself. Financially, really every way, financially, emotionally, spiritually, physically, everywhere, every way possible. It was really the first time that I had to fend for myself. And this is another reason why a lot of people don't want to live authentically, and they just want to manage the perceptions of other people or live to their expectations, is because there's so much connected to that, right? How many people stay in the wrong relationships because of financial stuff, right? You know, or because are we too difficult for the kids? No, like, I'm sorry, but like, I would rather give, and I'm not a mother myself, so take this with a grain of salt. This is only my own personal perspective without having the experience, you know, so, you know, but personally, I'd much rather, if I would say I was the child, I think I'd rather see parents who could own, maybe they made a wrong decision, or maybe the decision was no longer right, and they loved and respected themselves enough to do what they needed to do. That was the most self-loving thing that each individual could do for themselves, not stay in something that went totally against what was true and right for them as individuals. You know, that's not what we want to role model to people that we care about, you know. So I totally agree, and I put it in this bit of a hardcore way that doesn't sound too pretty or nice, but I really got this from the work of Caroline Myss, who works with archetypes. You know, she looks at archetypes, like how we're all operating in these different patterns, and they're these archetypal patterns. You know, like you might look at somebody and go, wow, they're an absolute king, right? Or that person is such a joker, or whatever. Like, they're different archetypes, and basically we all share this one survival archetype. There's actually 4 of them, but this one I want to mention is the prostitute archetype. Every single one of us has a tendency and a pattern to fall into prostituting ourselves. Now, that doesn't have to be in a sexual nature, right? In fact, it can be in the financial nature of what we're talking about, right? Like, why are you sacrificing the truth of who you are? For what? What's the payoff? How are you prostituting your own authenticity? Is it because of the finances, or because, you know, in my circumstance, I was getting paid a full-time wage by my family to attend uni and do these degrees that I had no idea what I was doing. Like, I didn't know that that's what I didn't want to do. I just didn't know what I was doing, the hell I was doing with my life, right? But if I look at it on the outside world, I knew that if I was to question that or go against that, I was going to lose my income, my car, everything paid for, my connection, my sense of accomplishment in the eyes of those people, you know, all those different things. So instead of letting that little voice come up earlier, I wasn't ready for that. You know, I was still caught in that prostituting my life. And that's why, oh my gosh, I feel like I say this every single time, every time I get on a video, but it's so key, is that the number one regret of the dying is I wish I had have had the courage to live a life true to myself rather than one I felt was expected of me. Can you see how the prostitute plays out in humanity all the time? Because we're too focused on the expectations of others or our perception of what they may be, right? That's 100% our responsibility to know what we're doing and why we're doing it, right? And instead of, taking responsibility for going within and deciphering, what am I authentically inspired by? What do I want my heartbeats to go toward, right? What is the point of breathing this oxygen, right? Why am I here as an individual? Right? That's the kind of stuff that we have to take responsibility for so that we can ultimately not become a statistic of a regret-filled life, and we can ultimately be a role model for what it is to live a regret-free life, right? So totally love that. And yes, absolutely, Alps and Brian, greetings from New Jersey. As always, I appreciate your message. Well, I always appreciate you being here, Brian. And Brian says, microscope or mirror. Great quote from Lovability. Is that where it's from? My favorite book that I'm always recommending to you guys. So it must be from Robert Holden then. Thanks for alerting me to that. I've read that book probably at least 15 times. I think it's just become me, and I'm like, I know that's a quote from somewhere, but I don't know where. So appreciate that, Brian, and I love that you read that book. Best book ever, so foundational to our own relationships with ourselves, which is ultimately key for you to take 100% responsibility for your own life instead of handballing that to the external world, because you're chasing that lovability outside of yourself rather than realizing it within yourself inherently. So love that, Brian. And Modestov, I probably butchered your name, but love you being here. I always see your feeds at the right time. Thank you. My name is Maria. Thanks, Maria. I love having you here, and I'm so grateful that today's message has hit you at the right time. Thanks for letting me know. Particularly, thanks for letting me know your name. And much easier to pronounce. And Wendy's here as well, getting so much from your lives. Oh, I'm so grateful to hear that, beautiful soul. Thanks so much for showing up again and letting me know. And Wendy, I raised my 2 girls with leaving their father. They thank me for doing that. Oh, see what I mean? That's so courageous and powerful. And I really appreciate you sharing your journey and your experience here as well, Wendy, because that's something that breaks my heart sometimes the most, is when we stay stuck in limiting relationships. Because whenever you go against what's ultimately the most self-loving thing to do for yourself as an individual, what happens is you send a message to yourself that you don't deserve that love, right? You deserve to sacrifice and be in pain, and you don't deserve happiness or joy or fulfillment in your life, right? And that's what keeps us stuck and small and limited. So we must be willing to step forward with courage, no matter what the repercussions are, no matter how challenging they might be, in order to show and role model for the people that we love and care for most what it is to have a self-loving relationship with yourself. And I always, whenever I'm working with parents on their own lives, I always use this card with them, which is if your daughter or your son was in this exact same position, what loving advice would you give them, right? And that is always the answer. But oftentimes we don't give ourselves the same thing that we would give to our most dearest loved ones, right? Like a lot of people in a situation where they're struggling in the relationship, they know it's not right, maybe it's abusive in some regard, and they stay, but there's no chance in hell they would advise their son or their daughter, their child, to stay in the same environment. So sometimes we just have to take it in that direction to go, what advice would you give the person that you love and respect at the highest capacity, and direct that back to ourselves. So love that, Wendy. Thank you so much for being here and appreciate you sharing that. And I'm hoping to each and every one of you guys that this recap back into the whole concept of taking 100% ownership and responsibility for your own life and success is absolutely key to your fulfillment. I recently made this choice in an intimate relationship that I'd been in, where I ultimately had to get to the point where it's like, you know what, it's not about the potential here. If in 5 years from now, this person in relationship with me is still not where I fell in love with the potential of, that's not their fault at all. That's all on me, right? 100% on me. And I'm very grateful to have the support of some coaches that I did navigating that challenge, right? Because it's sometimes you don't see it when you're in it, right? It's like what Les Brown says, you can't see the picture when you're in the frame, right? That's why it's important, no matter where you are on your personal growth journey, to have people on your team who can shine light in those blind spots and alert you to a new pathway that may just lead you towards taking further responsibility for your life. That's the path, right? So I hope this message has served you. Remember that taking 100% responsibility for your own life is the absolute key to unlocking every single problem that comes your way. Try this on for size. Next problem you have, whatever problem you're faced with right now, ask yourself, where am I not taking 100% responsibility? And what would it look like if I was? And how would I be generating a different result? What action would I be taking if I took 100% responsibility for this? It's not blaming yourself, right? It's taking 100% responsibility for your own future fulfillment, all right? So give that a go. And Bill, you're lighting up the universe. Shine on. Thank you so much, Bill. You are so appreciated, and I appreciate the light you shine here as well. So my message to you guys, as I always sign off, is ultimately, first of all, just thank you and appreciate you guys for showing up and co-creating this space and contributing to the conversation. So much love for each and every one of you guys, and also to go out there and live authentically, right? Let those words sit with you. What does that mean to you to live authentically? Think about the freedom and the fulfillment that would come with. To love deeply. Don't just settle for surface level connections in your life. You know, it's all about depth and quality, right? The further you can go into authentic connection, the deeper you're going to go into your fulfillment, right? And then finally, to contribute in a meaningful way. Whatever you value, whatever really matters to you, holds the answers to how much value you have to contribute to this world, all right? So don't negate any of that. Live authentically, love deeply, contribute meaningfully. That is what, from my perspective, what life is ultimately about. I hope it resonates with you as well. And Brian, have a great night and namaste. Same to you, my friend. And Alps, life is beautiful if we can grab it with responsibility and courage. Thanks. I love that, Alps. Thank you so much for sharing those beautiful words of wisdom, and much love to you, Frank. So appreciate each and every one of you guys, as I just said, and I cannot wait to see you guys tomorrow. If this message has been valuable and you know somebody in your life who could really benefit from taking some higher levels of responsibility so they can access freedom and fulfillment, please do share it, whether publicly or privately, however you want to do it. That's such a gift that you can give to me. And Brian, I'm super grateful that this was a great message for you. I'm sending you guys all of my love, and I will see you tomorrow.